Rob, week 2 of the Premiership. You got off to the ideal start with a win, but there were plenty of things to work on, you said after.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the more we probably reviewed the game, probably the happier we are, really. I think there's explanations for the bits we got wrong, some pretty clear ones. Obviously, when you tie a whole game together, and we talk a lot about one thing ties a game to something else, there's creates performances that then create tries and creates more pressure. When your scrum's getting penalised more than you're making the opposition play the ball away, you lose big chunks of territory. And our kind of 5 metre pressure game didn't pay off in the way it traditionally would. Our maul didn't quite function as we wanted it to. Our pick and go wasn't quite as accurate as we'd like it to on other times, and that ultimately meant that the pressure was relieved away from Harlequins way more than we'd have liked, and ultimately that meant that we were still kind of pushing to try and create a more comfortable score on the scoreboard right until the end, and even that last couple of minutes probably encapsulates the game for us. We've built 5 metre pressure, we're right there, and what do? We lose the ball, and then we're scrambling indeed to make sure that we still win the game, and that probably repeated over and over through the game, and that and a moment of kind of switching off for a quick tap penalty, which I think most people will know that you talk about that in the run-up numerous times to playing Harlequins, watch them for quick taps, and we've got 4 or 5 guys either talking to the ref or turning their backs or walking away, and there you go. And all of a sudden a game that in theory with our possession and with our territory, and with the game we play, potentially we could have been a bit more into it and had a bit more leeway. All of a sudden it's a very, very tight game, and Harlequins deservedly got something out of it.
That said, you won, and that's the mark of a good side. You don't play great, but you still win.
Definitely. I mean, the more you go through the game, there are a lot more positives there. Defensively, some of our scrambling, but also on the whole, how solid we were was great. How much we actually wanted to play and wanted to try and create tries and wanted to create attacking opportunities was fantastic. But as I said, again, we failed to be able to make pressure on pressure, because pretty much every time we scored, unusually for us, we didn't take the restart as comfortably as we'd like to be able to rebuild that pressure. Too many times whenever we did something good, we followed it up by a little error that then allowed Harlequins to start building the next bit of pressure, and that's unusual for us, and it's because it's unusual. That's why we're not in panic mode at all. We're in, let's tick the boxes. So let's work hard at our scrum, let's work hard at our restarts, let's work hard at our 5 metre game, let's work hard to make sure that we're fully focused on things that make us good, rather than on the things that we think are important to ourselves almost. And I think just by that little bit of refocus, that'll just bring us back online, just that little bit that we need to.
Bath, we know they were the team we took the longest to beat, and that they will come into it licking their wounds. They're a hurt side, I'd imagine, this week. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, it's not a particularly happy hunting ground for us, and people have got to remember that a little bit. And I know we've done okay in the last couple of years, and we've done okay in the league programme, but there is a reality that going to Bath and for an extra team and winning is pretty tough. And if we haven't got some expectation to get there and work extremely hard, then it's going to be very tough for us again. So we've got to make sure we get our heads in the right places. Like I say, our mental focus is probably more important for us than anything else at this stage of the season, because I think I definitely think we've had a good preparation. I'm pretty certain we're well conditioned. Everything we're seeing is good. We've just got to get our focus sharpened up a little bit onto things that really matter. The bonus last week was seeing Stuart Hogg come into the club for the first time. You've got him out training now. How much of a boost is that going to give you going into a game like that, and others being available? Yeah,
you'd like to think quality players are what allow you to potentially move on more than anything else. Attitudinally, he's been absolutely fantastic. Dropped me a text pretty soon after the Japan game. Knew he was coming home. Filled us in on all the details of when he'd be here and that he wanted to get straight into training. So he was here late on Thursday, arrived at the club on Friday, did some screening and some training, came in again very early on Saturday to do some more, just to make sure he'd just getting the trip out of his system and we're ready to move on. And he's done a full week's training this week, so he's up and ready to go. He's desperate to play, desperate to be involved and get on with things. It's hard to leave a guy out like that.
And obviously, when you look at last weekend's results, shows how tough this division's going to be this year, wasn't it? There was no runaway victories, nothing like that.
Yeah, I don't think many people would have predicted that whole set of scores. But on the whole, I think when reviewing the games, most people will probably go, well, the results probably went the right way. People deserve their wins. Rugby's a little bit like that. You tend to get out of it what you deserve. So for us, we're delighted that we've collected 4 valuable points. But it does show you that there's a lot of good teams in the Premiership, and there's going to be a lot of tight games, and you're going to have to be right on form every week if you want to keep collecting points.